Hello there. I am presently walking along, that's a sheep, walking through the harvested area of the woodland. And I have to say, it's quite a walk. You can see behind me, so that the sheep is standing on my path, and you can see all the detritus left by the forwarding machines. It's quite significant, and if I'm not looking at the camera particularly, it's because I am trying to negotiate what is a very rough and trippy path, as well as finding a yearling lamb in there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So what am I doing here? Well, I'm walking towards the heart of the woodland, which is where we have several square feet allocated to lairds and ladies who have bought our woodland package. It's not open to the public yet, particularly because of the very rough path, but today I am having a look at how I would flatten that path to make access that much easier. And actually, to this point, it's fine, because if I turn around, up there is a beautiful patch of woodland, which is where all those square feet are. So I'm thinking that I will be able to flatten that road behind me and create a reasonable walking surface. However, if I go the other way, you can see behind me it all gets a bit rough, and that's where I think maybe my expertise with a mini digger might be a bit too challenged. So behind me is one of our wonderful Scots Pines. These are native to Scotland and provide a very particular kind of habitat, but really the habitat that we're trying to restore gets rid of all the rhododendron that you can see there behind me. Once we get rid of the rhododendron, we then get natural regrowth, and the type of silver birch you can see there over my shoulder then becomes the most common tree. And in fact, all of the area that I'm presently walking through will be planted with oak and silver birch. And by the time we open the path, everything behind me, all of that, which rather looks like some sort of very chastening felling area, will be planted up. So we'll be completely replenishing the hill with trees, which will be wonderful. So when, you might ask, will we be replanting this woodland? Well, we're now on the Scottish Forestry register, and the consultation therein finishes in the middle of August. That is when officially, as long as there's nothing to answer there in the public consultation, which I doubt there will be, but if there is, then we'll deal with it. But if not, then we will have effectively the green light to begin works on the approved planting scheme, and that will involve a combination of planting, obviously, and then also the creation of a deer fence. Now, the deer fence is really important because what that does is it, as the name suggests, prevents deer from entering our newly created woodland and eating the newly planted trees. Apparently, a deer likes nothing better than to munch on newly planted forestage, and in particular stuff that has been coming from outside and is nice and fresh. So we're going to prevent that with the fence, and whilst that fence is going in, we will begin the process of clearing and maintaining the access. So that allows us to get the machines in to start to turn over pieces of earth in a fairly random but regular density that then means we plant in those turned over pieces of earth. And that raised earth protects the plant from flooding, and also means that it gives us a good visual clue over time to see what sort of percentage of trees have actually managed to survive the initial woodland creation. 5 years after that, we then go through and we replant those that have failed. I suspect that when we do that, what we're going to find is that the stuff we've planted is interleaved with trees and flora which have existed on this hill for millennia, and it will be an interesting project to track which variety of tree, the ones that have been planted or the ones that just exist, provide the best coverage, if you like. But it's not about coverage, is it? It's about replacing the natural environment, the natural temperate rainforest. I mean, we're very dry at the moment because it's summer, but in the winter this place is swimming with water. It is quite incredible, notwithstanding temperatures, etc., etc. So it's all very exciting, and add to that we are going to be also creating a path network which will allow our lairds and ladies and members of the public to access these woodlands, and you've got the beginnings of what I think will be an incredible rewilding experience. I mean, we haven't called it rewilding, we've talked about carbon offset, but the carbon offset really is a means to an end. It's not actually the end. The end in sight is a woodland that will last for a century, will replenish the flora and fauna of this particular glen, and counteract the depredations of sheep farming. Now, don't think that I'm anti-sheep. I just think that some hills are better left as woodland than as marginal sheep grazing, and this, by all measures, is marginal. Anyway, it is very exciting because it is the first small step towards the restoration of the castle, because the money the carbon offset generates on that hill is going to all go into the restoration of the castle, and in particular the restoration of the small area between the house and the castle, and then hopefully the main tower. And by the time I speak to you in maybe 2 or 3 years' time, we will have apartments for lairds and ladies to stay, which will be wonderful. We love art at Dunans. We love all forms of artistic expression. As you'll know if you followed me on Dixon-Spain, I'm often to be found doing line drawings, and Sadie is often to be found writing plays, and we have a garden where we love to let nature express its own artistic temperament. Our kids are very artistic. I just wanted to introduce you to another expression of artistic endeavour, Andy McClintock's Urisig, or Brownie. His little sculpture sits in the corner of a West Coast cedar, and has been there since 2015. It's been a constant source of delight and wonder for our lairds and ladies. He left it for us because we had an exhibition of his throughout that summer, and he had sculptures in the castle, in the grounds. It was wonderful. Sadly, he's now dead, and it's lovely that we have a piece in the grounds that he has given us. So, if you would like to visit Urisig, or the Brownie, or the Fairy at Dunans, then please book a tour, and Gordon will be delighted to show you Andy's piece. So I'm often asked, what is the plan? And part of the plan is obviously how to raise the finances to get on to the next stage. But then it's picking which parts of the projects or the project we do first, and actually whether we can do that. So behind me is the small area between the house, which is where I live, and the castle. That two-storey joining building, interstitial we call it, is part of the first project. And what we will do with it is create a single bedroom apartment for lairds and ladies to stay, and it will get renovated as soon as we realise the monies from our carbon offset. But that's not the only thing we would like to do. You see, we think there's going to be an opportunity to create a second apartment in the castle, one which we can create in an innovative way, and which will give lairds and ladies a real thrill. So just behind me there is the tower, and the idea is that the tower becomes the second of our apartments, where maybe 2 or perhaps 4 can stay. It will contain a spiral staircase, and will have a candle snuffer or conical roof on the top of it. That can be all done independently of the rest of the castle. And in fact, the rest of the castle very nicely divides up into 5 or 6 3-storey segments that will then be able to renovate as we earn money from the apartments that we are able to let. And next you'll be asking, well, when's all this going to happen? So as I've said in other videos, we will be planting, fingers crossed, bureaucracy allowing, in the autumn. Now if we plant in the autumn, we can then be verified by the Soil Association over the winter and have the carbon offset up and running in the spring, and go to market to find corporate partners who will buy several thousand tons of carbon offset for their carbon footprint. That story, or that particular methodology, will then raise the capital to do these 2 smaller projects, and then I feel that we're off. It's all to be won, and with people staying in the castle, I think Dunans will feel less the ruin, more the living, breathing structure that it should be.